Hey y'all, welcome. Yeah, so I hope everyone is having a great day. I hope Christ is with you as he's with me every day. And a few of you had asked me to do book reviews, and my answer at the time was like, well, I don't really do anything that my heart is not into. So when and if I do book reviews, it'll be because like, well, I have like an intimate relationship with this book, or I really, really love this book. And such is the case here, yeah? Okay, so The Theory of Moves is a book by Professor Brahms, and this narration is brought to you by The Hand, or Hands, right? And like, of course, certified by the invisible hand, the amazing God called Jesus Christ, Jesus Christus. Anyway, y'all. So, like, yeah, this is a great introduction to game theory. So a little bit ago, I told you guys that I'd be making a video series on game theory, and that video series, which will come soon, will be heavily borrowing from this book. As a matter of fact, I've been waiting on this book in order for me to start that video series, yeah? Okay, cool. So, I would recommend this book, even if it was not incredibly well written and a great book, simply because, well, Professor Brahms, while I was at the Quran Institute of New York University, that's the math department, the best applied math program in the world, right? While I was there, I wanted to audit a political science course, and Professor Brahms, luckily allowed me to audit his one political science course that was taught the summer of not very important, like 7 years ago or something like that. And like that was worth like $4,500 for the course, and he allowed me to take it for free under the condition that I attend every class and write all of the papers and like engage in the discussions. And of course, like, you know, I was more than happy to oblige, right? And I went to his office hours a couple of times and learned a little bit more about him. He went to MIT and was a professor at Stony Brook. And at the time I met him, he was a tenured professor at NYU. And he's written other books, including on the mathematics of democracy. And in fact, I lent that book, The Mathematics of Democracy, to someone who was teaching history at a private school with me, and he was like, this is too mathematical for me. So if you pick up like any book by Professor Brahms, although they may be pretty verbose, the books he writes, they are very mathematical, as you'd expect from someone who has been to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, right? Okay. Now, so, you know, I'm very grateful for Professor Brahms allowing me to audit that course. And so, as I said, I would recommend this book solely because of that, right? And I made him proud. I did write all of the papers as he had asked. And in fact, like I used an item from late in the book on one of my papers, and like this argument, actually, like I might get to teaching you about it at some point. But yeah, like this kind of reasoning. And he was very happy to have seen a student who, like, you know, utilized one of his ideas, especially that late in the book, so he knew I read it. And Professor Brahms also worked at the time on fair division, which, you know, from the way he explained it, was about like how to cut up a cake into 5 equal pieces. And apparently that was an unsolved problem at the time, right? Which is like, what? And Professor Brahms had written up a nice solution, which, you know, like NYU owned, because, well, he was a tenured professor and they had copyrights to like everything he wrote or like, you know, created, I suppose. And that's what he told me. NYU owned the solution to that fair division problem that he had worked on. And that's called the alienation of labor, according to Karl Marx, in case you want to look that up. But let's get into this book and why I love it. So the reason why I love it is because, well, it starts with a very gentle introduction into game theory via the prisoner's dilemma, and then like introduces different games with different payoff matrices. This is kind of like what a payoff matrix is. So then it like looks at the games in the context of historical events. So one of the things that he looks at is the Iran missile crisis back in the Jimmy Carter era. And so he like solved the Iran missile crisis as a two-player game, right? So using game theoretic ideas, right? But the best part, my favorite part about this book is somewhere down the middle of the book, like Professor Brahms uses what he calls backward induction to come up with a better equilibrium than the Nash equilibrium. This better equilibrium is called the non-myopic equilibrium. So, as the months wear on, I will be talking about a lot of these items in detail. So you can consider this the first of a series of videos on game theory where we'll dive deep into each of the games and break them down and even learn about this so-called non-myopic equilibrium. Yeah? Okay, so lots to look forward to for you. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this little review. And a couple of summers back when I was visiting Ethiopia, I had a childhood friend who asked me for advice. And even though I have read very few books myself, and it's perfectly good to be someone who gives advice but not practices it, I suppose. But even though I have read very few books, I told my friend, my advice is that he read more books. And he's like, well, yeah, but which books do I read? And that's a great question, right? And of course, you'd find it no surprise that I'd give him this answer. And I said, pray about it, and Christ will find you the right book. And of course, my friend is a devout Muslim, so he's not going to pray to Christ. But that was still a good advice, which is to say that you could read 500 books and not find any meaning in it, and whereas you could read one book that you find transformative. And so if you're not appealing to Christ, then there are some of us who are experienced in some of these books, and so might give you some worthwhile recommendation. And this is definitely a book that I'd recommend as a first book to learning about game theory for anyone who's trying to learn about game theory. And yeah, if you don't have access to this book, well, then you could watch the videos I'm about to make in the next several months, and that should equip you with all the tools you need to have a foundation on game theory. Yeah? Okay, cool. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're having a great day, and yeah, keep watching. Take care.